Call the June 13th, 2022 school board meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have an oath of office at this time. So Brian, would you please swear in Ms. Todd Robbins?
Judy, right here so the microphone picks
Sure,
us up.
that'd be perfect.
So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Bridget Todd Robbins,
who have been duly elected
who have been duly elected
to the Holmen Board of Education
to the Holmen Board of Education
of the School District of Holmen,
of the School District of Holmen,
but have not yet entered upon
but have not yet entered upon
the duties thereof,
the duties thereof,
swear that I will support
swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to the board.
Thank you so much.
All right, you can come take your seat.
Excellent. So Brian, would you mind doing roll as well?
Yep, Rebecca Reber,
Here.
Brian Wopat here, Barb Wench,
Here.
Alan Fox, Jennifer Deek,
Here.
Gary Dunlap,
He's also excused.
Chris Lau,
Here.
Bridget Todd Robbins.
Here.
So with 6 of the board members present, I declare a quorum. The approval agenda. I note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to the local media. With this in mind, are there any changes to the agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Rebecca?
Second.
Brian? Brian, a second of the approved agenda as published. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. So the motion is approved and published, and the published agenda has passed. Do we have any public participation tonight? No, we do not. Okay. So we'll move on to our next agenda item, the board organization. For the first elected officer, it will be the president. Are there any nominations for the office of president? Are there any nominations for the office of president?
I nominate Jennifer Deek.
Okay. Are there any nominations for the office of president? Okay, so if there's one nomination, I would entertain a motion to close the nomination and cast unanimous ballot for Jennifer Deek.
So moved.
All right. And second?
Second.
Rebecca? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Say by saying no. Motion carries. All right. So then I would retain the vice presidency, and Brian would stay as the clerk, and Gary would stay on as treasurer, if that's correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So then Jennifer to take place as president.
Right now?
Yep. That was fast. Yeah, no time, just the
Okay,
time.
you want me to switch seats or just do it from here?
But you can come and, why don't you guys?
Okay, that's fine.
If that's, or you can, or here, just pass it. We're good. There we go. Is that it?
Oh, I can do it from here. Okay, we are moving on to recognition and thank yous. Dr. Mueller.
Yeah, tonight I have recognition, and what I'd like to do is recognize our staff member, Chad Brando. He is our current Director of Buildings and Grounds, and he has completed his facility manager certification. And we're very proud of him for doing this, because this not only increases his knowledge, but also will enhance his abilities to really ensure our facilities are, excellent, stay in these, and continue to stay in excellent, excellent, oh, I am so sorry. Just we congratulate him on that certification, so.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to reports and discussion. Director of Human Resources, Melissa Cates, will next present on multiple topics. The items will appear on the 627 consent agenda. So first up is the employee handbook language.
Right, so I'm just gonna pull up a presentation, and I've got pretty much everything in one spot, so. All right, so about a month ago, Mr. Myers and I came to the board and shared a nurse study that we had done and introduced some changes that, the board had approved. So, once those changes went into place and were approved, we started doing all of the extra legwork to make those changes within the employee handbook. So, because of the timing of how all of this went down, we did not go to the employee relations team, but Matt and I did work with the nurses, shared all of this information as it's being brought to the board as well. So they have all of this information that we're sharing tonight. So essentially what we'll go through the new section in the handbook. So as a reminder, we are pulling nurses out of the teachers union. They don't really fit very well in that group. So because they're not in that group anymore, we're pulling them from that section of the handbook, essentially creating, teachers are part 2, we're creating part 2A, nurses. As we went through this change, what I did was pulled the entire part 2 of the handbook and created 2A, and then just went through and struck what did not apply to our nurses. And we also added some other things as well. So instead of going through every single section with you tonight, I just came up with a presentation to share what the changes that you would see within your packet tonight for that section of the handbook. So in section 1, we removed any reference to non-renewal statute 11822. Because they are not educators, they do not fall under that educator group anymore, that statute would no longer apply to them. So as we move through, you'll see where we did have to create some additional language because there is no non-renewal language, but throughout this entire new section of the handbook, we did remove any reference to 11822. Section 2 is professional hours, where you removed anything related to class size, teacher load, those types of things that does not apply to them. And then also a big change for that group is changing the parent-teacher conference contract days to health office setup days. So on our teacher contract, 3 of their 190 contract days are used for parent-teacher conferences. The nurses don't really have parent-teacher conferences, so. But what is really important to them is getting their health office set up before the school year starts. So we took those 3 days and moved them to August before the school year starts, and made that's a pretty big change within, I would say that's probably the biggest change that we made in this section, so. Part 3 is professional growth, so you'll see a large language adjustment that really just aligns that language to a nurse rather than an educator. Part 4 is assignments, vacancies, and transfers. Removed, again, any language and specific examples that relate to a teacher. Added some language that is specific to summer school assignments. As you may recall from last month, our new nurse, the 260-day year-round nurse, will be doing summer school now. So just had to make some adjustments in that section. Updated the absence reporting language, and again, that's statute 11822 reference as well. Part 5 is reductions in force, positions, and hours. Again, since we don't have 11822, we took out all of that language and then adjusted it really to relate to a nurse rather than an educator. So as you, the current layoff language talks about looking at licensure and specific, if you're an elementary classroom or if you're a high school social studies or whatever that is, using that language as we look through when needing to lay off, which we have not had to do in Holmen, but still need that language. So really referenced it specific to a nurse. So really talking about license. What is their specific assignment? Those types of things. So that's the big change you'll see in that section. Part 6 is professional compensations. Again, because they're coming off of the teacher side of the house, removing reference to salary schedule. Again, Matt and I talked about last month really doing a study next year and looking at our compensation of our health office staff, so not only our nurses, but our health aides as well. And so I anticipate there'll be more language added in the future, but right now it's pretty generic in that it states that the board will approve the salary for the position. So, but once we determine what an appropriate model is for this staff group, we'll come forward with additional language for that section. Vacation language was added for that year-round nursing position because that does go along with that position. And then updated language about national board certification, so for the nurses specifically. And then the last two parts within that piece of the handbook are insurance and post-employment, and there were no changes other than educator replaced with nurse. And the second piece to our change.
Yeah, Melissa mentioned the calendar, so that was important just in terms of talking about parent-teacher conferences. Our nurses aren't a hot spot during those parent-teacher conferences. Parents have many other places to go during that time. But what is really relevant is that beginning of the school year piece where our nurses are not only setting up their health offices in terms of physically, but thinking about new students that they may have, developing care plans, which are really, really timely to have in place on day one versus kind of scrambling to do that at the beginning of the year. So feeling like this change really honors the professional needs and the professional needs of not only the nurses, but the needs of the students and the families that want to be knowing confidently their students are entering school safely on day one.
This piece you will see separate, I believe in consent, just so we have a starting point for a calendar for nurses. Next week, Kim Edwards and I will be meeting with a calendar committee of staff. We've expanded to not just include teachers, but all staff. So we have input from all groups and can hear what works and what isn't working, and making sure that our calendars accommodate all of our staff and what the handbook applies to them, those types of things. So we really needed this calendar set up so we can do our work with that committee to include a nurse calendar as well in the future.
So the presentation was 10.2, and then the calendar's 10.3,
Yep.
and then we'll get to 10.1 right after that. Yeah, not a problem. So,
Oh, yes, thank you.
you had a lot of employee handbook
know, I
language
know.
this evening.
Okay. Sorry, that's probably why you didn't come up right away. Sorry. Okay, so the other two pieces of language that I'm bringing forward are things that came up that we realized needed to be changed after the fact when we came to the group last month as well, I think, with all the handbook changes. So this is from part 3 of the handbook, our hourly staff, and this really talks about absence reporting. As you recall, our custodians will now, starting in July, be reporting to Chad Brandow and Ben Gappa instead of the building principal. So they are making some changes, and so just changing out who the custodians are reporting their absences to. Because A no longer applied, I was able to work B into the revision of the language. So that's the change for that piece. And then the other one on here, I don't know how we missed this. Jill and I were scratching our heads on this one, but this is the national board certification language. We did originally, when we brought this forward, to expand this language, not intentionally, but missed school social worker and national physical therapy. So just wanting to add those in and honor those certifications of those staff as well. Just wanted to bring these forward in a timely manner so we can put them in the handbook effective July 1st. So.
Okay, any questions? All right, thank you. All right, next up, Executive Director of Student Services Jill Mason will now present on the contract for speech and language services. The item will appear on the 627 consent agenda.
Hi, hello everyone. Okay, so I'm coming to you tonight. We had several speech and language pathologist positions open in our district this year. One position in our early childhood department we weren't able to fill, and so we are going to contract those services this year. The position will be split into two, so the one part of the position is what we're coming to you tonight with, and that will be a 2-day-a-week contract. We're still looking for the other 3 days a week, so we're hoping that after this year, we'll be able to post again and have that position filled, but right now we have an individual that was working with us already this year and is a former employee, so we'd like to keep contracting if that's possible. Any questions about that?
So just the contract position is not our district employee, or it's,
No,
It's a
no,
service?
we have to contract out.
right, okay.
Yep, and so it'll be split into two, so it'll be like 2 separate contracts. So right now, I'm just coming to you with the 2-day-a-week contract. We're still looking for the 3-day-a-week.
And the 78 an hour is what we pay the company.
Yes, individually, yes.
Yeah.
And we're contracting because we are unable to find and recruit for
A license, yep. Oh, we've recruited. We're just not able to find someone qualified yet.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Jill. All right, next, Dr. Mueller will present on the MOU regarding intersection of Briggs and McHugh Roads. The item will appear on tonight's consent agenda.
Yeah, thanks. Yes. So any questions you have, tonight's the night to ask. So this has been the partnership between the county, La Crosse County, Village of Holmen, Town of Holland, and the school district we've been having discussions about the intersection out at McHugh and Briggs actually for over a year, for multiple discussions over time, and just really trying to decide, what kind of solution can we come up with and so on. And came around the table and have an MOU where the district, our part of the responsibility of the partnership would be to basically financially help the ability of that intersection to happen. For those of you that were around in 2017, we had on our referendum, we secured $710,000 to use for the congestion at McHugh Briggs. So what we're proposing is, through the MOU, is the district would contribute that to the project, nothing more, while the Village of Holmen will take on the responsibilities of pretty much arranging the majority of the work, and La Crosse County is also then would still maintain the roads and take on the responsibilities that they currently have with that. And the Town of Holland and the village will also be a fiscal agent in making the project happen. So if all goes well, and the board agrees, we can move on with this partnership. They'll start that work immediately and hopefully have this in action by this next summer. So, any questions on that? I know this has been a topic that many have asked for many, many years, and it's very exciting to bring this forward and present this with you. And it definitely would not have happened without the partnerships of all of our municipalities around. So I'm just very thankful for that. So. No?
Okay.
Okay.
No questions? All right.
Thank you.
All right, consent agenda items. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background materials at each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any item, it'll be pulled out of the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
So moved.
And we need a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion passes. Right, moving on to board member reports and discussion. First, I will call upon board members and ask you to present any comments or committee reports you might have. And Rebecca, we'll start with you.
I was just reminded that there's a survey going out this week, so, community members, all the parents and the district staff, you'll be receiving a survey, and we'd appreciate as much feedback as you can get. And that's all I have for the night.
Okay, Brian?
Welcome to the board, Mrs. Todd Robbins. That's all I've got.
And Barb?
Yes, I attended the CISA 4 convention on June 1st. One interesting presentation of note is that CISA 4 is within days of being approved for their alternative licensing pathways, supports, and services program. And I don't know if you know what that is, but DPI has worked very closely with them, and hopefully next month, the first class of individuals who have bachelor's degrees that have an interest in obtaining a teacher license will be able to go through a program with CISA 4. And at the end, it will be July to June. At the end of June, they will have a state of Wisconsin teacher licensure. And it'll be for grades K through 9. And so they're starting to take applications. They said they'll have a website up and running sooner than later. And this isn't something new to the state of Wisconsin. Other CISA regions already have programs like this. And I think they said there's already 4 people interested in their first class, but they're going to be able to take 18, they're hoping, at a time eventually. And this came out of interest from other area school districts. Some of them have, substitutes that are interested in teaching and have a bachelor's degree. So it only takes a year. So that was very interesting.
Thank you, Barb. Chris, I'll move on to you.
Sure. I would just second what Barb said, or Rebecca said, and please fill out the survey. I think we're going to be mailing some out as well, too, so it's not just for folks that are parents in the district, but there will be an opportunity to receive them in your mailbox as well. And then, so welcome. That's all I have.
Okay, Bridget?
I just wanted to say I'm really honored and grateful to be part of this board and just really look forward to being an integral part of this work, so thank you.
Okay, I too want to welcome you to the board. I look forward to serving here with you. A couple other notes is I wanted to congratulate the Holmen track team for competing at state. And I also wanted to congratulate track athletes Griffin Banks and Cameron McNally on competing at state and representing our school district. So I guess I'm filled with gratitude to serve as president of the Holmen Board of Education. We do have many outstanding members here on the board, and I look forward to continuing to serve with all of you. So. Is there any other business? No, actually, let me back up. Board meeting schedule. So on June 22nd, there will be a board workshop at 5:30 p.m. for the board to discuss business operations. And then our next couple regular board meetings will take place on June 27th and July 11th. Now, is there any other business that needs to come before the board at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
The meeting is adjourned at 7:24 p.m. Motion carried. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.